Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy StumpD back from the OPTC video, and in today's video, buckle yourself in, little Timmy, because it is time. We're going to be talking about 15-star Super Boss Pirate Alliance KIZUNA against Monkey D GARP. And in today's video, I have two teams for each variation, only two variations in this Super Boss, and we are going to be going through all of the gimmicks. But I do want to make a disclaimer at the start of this video. Obviously, these teams that you guys see today, they're not designed for everyone. They are designed for endgame players and doing as most amount of damage as possible on the Super Boss. When it comes to Super Boss and 10-star KIZUNA around Super Boss time, my brain gets so fried with doing so much team building that I am sort of just doing teams that I do think that would work the best in terms of the max damage output. But that doesn't mean they won't give you ideas. That doesn't mean they can't help you guys out. And if you do have any ideas or you do have any recommendations for what you guys don't have in your box, let me know in the comment section below. We can always talk about substitutes and stuff like that. And if you enjoy the video, bell the like button for me. If you're new to the channel, you haven't done so already, hit that big red subscribe button. But with that said, let's take a look at Monkey D GARP Super Boss. The first variation is Int, and free spirits and shooters get their cooldowns, super switches, and versatilities charged. On Battle 2, there is a 10 million HP boss with 5 lackeys, all at 2850 HP. You get 1 turn of an attack down of 90% below a 3.0 chain multiplier and 2 turns of paralysis. If you pass the turn, the enemy will retreat. However, you lose all your positive buffs. You get 3 turns of attack down and 2 turns of special reverse. Very, very arrogant stage 2. And as you can tell, kind of shoehorning you into using like Sabo on that stage, which is very frustrating. On the final stage, there is full immunity except for increased damage taken. So stuff like V1 Yamato are going to shine here, and like Kaido and all those other characters that can do the increased damage taken. GARP becomes a super type. There's special one on your middle and bottom row for 6 turns. Binded Psi characters for 6 turns, which will go down to 3 after sockets. You get an attack down of 20% if you're below a 10.0 chain multiplier, which is super, super arrogant. No normal, like, mid-game to early game player is getting around this. If you are not using ASL, you're not getting around this. It's 4 turns of that. You get a full water block orbs, and then there's the new intimidation buff on the enemy. If you use a slot boost or a conditional boost on the final stage against GARP, he'll reduce it by 1 turn. This means you can take it into the final stage, and then it won't trigger the interrupt, or won't trigger that debuff to yourself. However, if you use a base stat boost on the final stage, you are going to lose your positive effects. You get 10 turns of despair and a 1.1 times attack boost for 10 turns. So as you can see, this is just so much stuff. Like I could read a Harry Potter novel quicker than that. Like, holy crap. Not only are they shoehorning us into using ASL, I understand that because of the new characters, but they basically just cockblocked Nami. They looked at her and they went, she is too good. Too good. Let's totally screw her over. You can't use a base stat boost, and you can't use 1-turn conditionals. So, like, holy dooly. However, if you do have ASL, you are going to be in good stead. If you can find a friend captain ace at Super Tandem level 5, I would definitely hit that up. And if anyone does have that, let me know in the comment section below, because I'd love to get you on my friends list, because you're going to help out a lot this Super Boss. But Ace as a captain, he's a 5.25 captain because we have a quick unit on the crew. He adds 0.3 to the chain, and his Super Tandem is really going to help out on turn 2 with that chain multiplicative effect. You do need them to be at like level 3 or higher to get that. So if you guys do have level 3 or higher, let me know in the comment section below. His special is going to be awesome because he gives you tandem slots to activate your Super Tandem, and he's also going to give you a 1.5 times chain addition for 3 turns, as well as giving you that new 2.0 carryover, because you should be able to easily hit the 10 times chain on stage 2 with using Ace, Sabo, and Luffy. Not only that, if you have your own Ace, you can pop them both on turn 2, so you get the base stats of the 3 turns to carry into the final stage, which is going to be very good. Probably in this like one only instance, but like it's going to be very, very good here because they've just totally cucked Nami. Our captain is Sabo. Now, Sabo will get the auto trigger from Luffy because we are utilizing Luffy on turn 1. Utilizing Luffy on turn 1 is going to give us 5 turns of an orb boost, and then as long as you get 2 perfects every turn, you are going to get the carryover of the chain multiplicative buff. Very easy to do so. You just have to hit 2 perfects. The first stage should be 2 turtles, so it should be nice and easy. And then by the time you hit the final stage, you'll have a 1.5 times chain multiplicative, as well as a 2.75 times orb boost. Then, utilizing that on turn 1, which means you get the auto trigger of Sabo. Awesome that this happens, so that way you get the 3.0 chain boundary, and then you're starting at a 4.5 times chain on stage 2, with then the Luffy 1.3 multiplicative, and then you can use the final tap of Luffy, you have the Super 10 of Ace. Should be very easy to hit that final 10 times chain on stage 2, and with Sabo as our other captain, we're getting a 5.4 times captain, and that auto triggering that he does so well. His Super Tandem really doesn't matter that much, to be honest, because we're not going to be using it, but his Super Class definitely will. Unfortunately, he is a Cerebral Super Class, so he's not buffing anyone on this crew besides himself, but his super class is very important because it gives us a 2.5 times color affinity boost to Sai, which is very hard to fit all the buffs on this particular team because there is so much stuff going on that fitting all the buffs was fairly challenging. The next unit I have on the team is actually Law. Now, Law is an interesting one, and I kind of brought him in at the very end because Law gives us an... What is he on for this team? He's the attack booster, that's right. Luffy's our ore booster. Law becomes our attack boost. He gives us the 0.6 when we hit perfects, which will become 0.9 when we have the Luffy multiplicative, which is going to be very, very nice. But not only that, I actually plan on using his Super Tandem. His Super Tandem, obviously, a lot of people should have max, like 2 times for Cerebral and Free Spirit characters, which is very good. Even Ace at max at 1.5 and 1.5 chain multiplicative might not be as powerful as what Law can provide, because the way the tap order goes with Ace, you basically have to tap with Sabo and then Ace, and then you can start tapping, and then Law's getting that buff anyway. But with Law, you can tap Law, Sabo, and then Luffy, and then your 2 aces and your Yamato are going to be hitting last. Now, Yamato's great because Yamato does have a very good final tap, much better than Luffy's. I would highly recommend using hers over Luffy's, unless you have Luffy at level 5. And if you have Luffy level 5, that's where like bringing like the Ace Super Tandem might be a bit more beneficial. But having this at the final... Oh, that's not the final tap. Having the 2 times chain multiplier and then the Wano orb on Yamato as well is going to be really, really, really nice. But Yamato is basically here to just give us Wano slots and increased damage taken, which is going to be very, very powerful. The Wano slots are going to go on our Luffy and our Ace, and then we're going to be in Hunky Dory stead. But there's a bunch of stuff we have to get around too. Remember, there's 2 turns of paralysis on stage 2, and that's where the Corazon support on Law comes into play. If you don't have Corazon, or you have a level 1 Corazon, you can use level 1 Corazon to do bind, and then use the support of Rayleigh on Luffy to get around the paralysis, or you can use the level 1 Rayleigh for bind on Luffy instead of that, depending on what you have. So to get around bind on the final stage was a little bit challenging, but we are going to use the Sabo special. We don't really have a use for the Sabo special on the final stage. Well, we actually do, because we're getting the auto trigger on turn 2. That way we actually get the... You know what, we actually don't, because we're going to have the chain boundary anyway, but utilizing his special is going to give us 2 turns of a bind removal thanks to Koala. Remember, only your Sai characters get binded, so that's going to work out quite nicely. And then with Otama on Luffy, we get the other 2 turns of bind there as well, which is super nice. Like I said, if you have Rayleigh level 1, you can easily use Rayleigh level 1 on Luffy. If you have Corazon level 1, you can use Corazon level 1 on Law, and then use the Rayleigh. That was what I initially had, and then I found this Otama, and I was like, oh, that's way better. But I do understand Otama is a treasure map rare recruit, probably less accessible than having an extra copy of that legend. And this is a perfect example of why I always say, if a character has a very good support at level 1 compared to level 5, make sure to keep 2 copies, because when this comes around, like Karasu, Morley, Rayleigh, Corazon, when this comes around, that is the time to shine. However, if you did summons on the new support banner, you can easily just use that support on Ace, and you will be hunky-dory there. Finally, we have the Queen support on Yamato. That's going to give us just 10% resistance, and it's just going to add an extra 10% damage to literally everyone. So, very, very nice team there. That's the team that I think will do the most damage. However, I did put this together, and this is built around Nami. Yes, they have tried to cock-block Nami so freaking hard, but I think I found a way to make it work still. I don't know if this team is going to do more damage than what ASL can provide, but it's a little bit interesting to see that Nami can still be viable. Obviously, you will need your own Nami at level 5 Super Tandem, and I understand a lot of people won't have that, but I'm just super curious to see what this team will do compared to the ASL team. So Nami as our captain, she is going to remove the paralysis on stage 2, and we're actually going to use her special on stage 2 to get around the chain multiplicative buff. But her captain is a 5.5 times captain, provided you just tap with a perfect on the previous stage. And then with her special, because you're going to get the paralysis, you'll cop 12 turns. And then with the turns at the start, let's just say you get an extra 0.2 to your chain. You're going to add a 1.7 to the chain. And then on top of that, like, you'll be hitting with, instead of finishing on 2.5, you'll be finishing on a 4.2. So very easy to hit above the 3 times chain. And because you can't use Nami's conditional or her base stats on the final stage, it only makes sense to use that there. However, you do want to save her super class for the final stage because you do want to make sure you can get a tandem orb. We are going to pop Luffy once again on turn 1, get that 5-turn orb boost, then you can get the chain multiplicative buff, and it all works out pretty hunky-dory there. You can use Yamato on stage 2 as well, her super type, if you really want to. It's not going to matter when you use it, if I'm being completely honest. But the reason you can't use Yamato as your captain is because you have to bring Yamato Ace. Yamato Ace and Robin are the only 2 characters that can give you a conditional boost that is more than 1 turn, and that's why these guys are on the actual team. Their switch ability is going to give us a conditional at 1.75, sorry, with their special, 1.75 times conditional, and their super switch is going to give us a 2.5 chain boundary and a guaranteed ignite, which then activates their special, which gives them the 1.75 conditional, and they're going to be our 2.75 times attack boost. So that's super nice there because our full team is free spirit. But we can't actually get their final tap, so that's why we're using a friend captain, Yamato. Now, Yamato is going to get double boosted here. She's going to get the super class, and she's going to get the super type, which is super nice. Her special is going to be the chain booster unit for this team, and she's going to be the additional damage, plus she gives us a full board of Wano. Before we use her special, that's where we want to use Nami's super class. Her super class is going to give her a tandem orb through block, and then everyone else is going to get the Wano orbs, which is going to be super hunky-dory. Next, we've got Robin. You guys know how good Robin is when it comes to super bosses. She's just so freaking valuable. Getting the double conditional is super nice. That's basically the only reason that she's here, and we're pretty much in good stead there. And then the final unit is Rebecca. Rebecca's here because she's a color affinity booster, but she also removes 7 turns of special bind. That special bind was so freaking arrogant, and this unit was the best option that I could find there. But if you guys have any ideas for this particular team, let me know in the comment section below. It doesn't use any fancy supports either. Like, it doesn't need any fancy supports like the previous team, because Yamato can remove the bind, Nami can remove the paralysis. The only thing that I got stuck on was that goddamn special bind, but this team should do nicely, but it won't get above that 10 times chain, except for Yamato's final tap. Yamato's final tap at level 5 will hit above the 10 times chain, so she's hitting incredibly hard. Like, Yamato, it's all this damage is basically like funneled into what Yamato can do. But remember, that attack down, it's really only 20%, so it's nothing too drastic, it's nothing too bad. It's not great, don't get me wrong, but like, it could be a lot worse. And with this particular team, I do want to see how it compares to the previous team that you just saw. Moving on to the next super boss now, we are coming up against a 15-star strength super boss. And quick and side characters get their special charge, their verse abilities, and their super switches. Once again, on the second stage, there is a boss that has 10 million HP, and there is 5 lackey units, and all those lackeys have 2850 HP, while the main boss having 10 million HP. There's 3 turns of damage reduction, and attack down if you're below 3.0 chain at 90% once again, and if you pass the turn, just like last time, the enemy will retreat, you'll lose all your beneficial effects, 3 turns of attack down, and 2 turns of special reverse. Very annoying, and I think they realized that like everyone was just passing the turn last time, and they just thought, hey, let's actually throw some debuffs here, because these bastards are just cheesing us. On the final stage, there's 99 turns of full immunity, GARP becomes a super type, 5 turns of damage reduction, 3 turns of threshold, an attack down of 20% below a 10 times chain multiplier, and an intimidation buff for GARP if you use a chain boundary, or if you use a base attack boost, you lose 1 turn of it. So as you can see, this super boss, the strength one, nowhere near as chaotic as the last one. So it's super interesting that they can make this so small and that so goddamn big. Now you guys see what I mean by them just absolutely cucking Nami. So super interesting there. But the first team is led by my boy. He still reps it. Super Tandem Shanks stays winning. The guy has literally been the staple for the strength super boss every single super boss since this character's release. So rainbowing this unit has just like, it's just been feeding me good. So I'm actually super happy with that decision now, because like Bandai has just consistently thrown strength super boss, strength super boss, strength super boss after strength super boss, and like it was even a super boss KIZUNA didn't have super type, so Shanks worked there too. It's absolutely crazy. Funny thing to note too with this particular super boss is Shanks, Sop Sop, Ben Beckman, Lucky Roo are all actually boosted at 1.5 because of the new super evolution of Shanks crew. So they're actually getting boosted as well, so they will have boosted stats. It's not 2 times like the Luffy, the Sabo, and the Ace, but they are still getting like very, very good damage. So, like I said, the team is led by our boy Super Tandem Shanks, and what we'll be doing on this particular team is utilizing his special in the final stage for his chain boost, and his color affinity boost. And then his super type is going to give us a 1.5 times extra, 0.25 to our color affinity, which is nice. Our friend captain, once again, just like last time, is 6++ Uta. Her final tap is going to go absolutely crazy like what Yamato can do at 2.25. She's going to be hitting above that 10 times chain very, very easily. We will pop her special on turn 1. So that way, on the final stage, we get the 2.75 orbs and 3 times attack boost. And then with her super class for Cerebral, she adds 0.25, which gives you a lot of damage for a lot of these particular characters. Shanks with his 5.5. Uta with her 5.4 when you use her after, like, for 5 turns after using her special, means that you are going to have a super class, a super type, and 2 captains that are very, very powerful. Next, we have Robin. Robin is going to be our conditional booster. She allows us to use 2 conditional boosters, and that way we can bring Sop Sop once again. Sop Sop, we can do our super switch. We get the resistance debuff, and that resistance debuff at 30% is basically going to cancel out the 20% damage that we lose. So it becomes like a 10% resistance for most of the characters on this team. But for Sop Sop, they're actually getting like 60%, and then you lose the 20%. So they're getting like 40%, and they're boosted too, by the way. You got to remember that as well. So Luffy, like I said, we're going to use Luffy on turn 1. Make sure to use Uta first. Uta going first is very important, so that way you get Uta's orb buff, not Luffy's orb buff. But with all the carryover effects and that chain multiplier buff that Luffy can provide, it works out very nicely because we are using Sabo once again. Now, because we're using Sabo as a sailor and not as a captain, we're not getting Sabo's auto trigger. Now, we are going to need Sabo to get around stage 2. Stage 2 is actually very, very annoying because there's 3 turns of damage reduction and, 5 turns of damage reduction and not a lot of characters that can get around it. Plus, you need chain boundary to get around that 3.0. So we are going to be using Sabo on that stage. Sabo is going to remove the damage reduction, give us the chain boundary. And because we have Luffy with the chain multiplicative, it's actually going to be 3 turns, which is nice. We can easily kill that stage, no issues whatsoever. And on the final stage, when we have the 5 turns of damage reduction, we can use the combination of Mr. 1 on Robin, which is going to be super, super nice. Make sure that you use Shanks before you use Robin, by the way. Utilizing Shanks for Robin just gives you a better chain boost. But Mr. 1 is going to remove 4 turns of damage reduction. And then Ben Beckman on Lucky Roo on Shanks is actually going to remove the other turn of damage reduction. Not only that, but Ben Beckman Lucky Roo can remove 1 turn of Threshold. And then with the support of VV on Luffy, you can get another 2 turns of threshold removal. Plus, you get 10% resistance for quick, which is super nice. And then again, that just helps out with that 20% below the chain. So, Ben Beckman Lucky Roo finding a way on this team, even though they did get replaced by Sabo, is actually hilarious to me. But this team should do absolute bits. The idea of the final stage is to tap with Luffy and then Shanks to activate his super tandem, hit with Robin, and then Sop Sop, because Sop Sop are getting boosted. They're getting a disgusting amount of resistance. Sabo would then hit very, very hard with his boosted stats. And then Uta with her final tap is going to go absolutely brazy. However, once again, I think Nami's going to do absolute bits. And even though they are trying to cockblock her, she's kind of like that Super Tandem Kaido effect where she's still going to be able to do good damage, especially if you have her at Super Tandem level 5. So with Nami as our captain, she can be a 5.5 times captain, which is super nice. We're actually going to use her special on turn 2 once again because we can't get her base stats on the final stage anyway, and then that way we can actually use her to remove the damage reduction, and we can get that chain boost to activate Sabo's auto trigger, which is going to be super nice there. Unfortunately, that means that we lose a lot of the chain boost on the final stage, but Nami's still very good here because she can boost those conditionals. Sabo as our friend captain, he's going to be our super cerebral character. A lot of these characters actually are cerebral, well, namely like Robin and Sabo himself. But with his special, he can be the 3.0 chain boundary. Getting the auto trigger removes the damage reduction. And then with the super class of Nami, we can actually remove the threshold, which is super nice. Nami has the VV support for some more resistance. That's going to work out really, really nicely there too. And then we've got Law as our orb booster for this particular team. Law is actually going to be the orb boost because we are utilizing Red Rock as our attack booster. Red Rock Luffy is actually boosted for this particular event, and you can actually utilize the support of Sabo for some more base stats. So this guy's going to be hitting ridiculously hard, like disgustingly hard. The downside to this particular team is that we won't be getting above the 10.0 chain effect, which is just very, very frustrating, like super, super annoying. But we'll still have a 2.75 times, oh, sorry, 3 times attack, a 2.5 times orb, a 2.25 times conditional, which Nami will then boost because of Sop Sop and Robin. We have the resistance with Sop Sop as well. We lose the base stats, but that's okay. And then we have the chain boost and chain multiplier effect from the supports of Mr. One and Brook as well. So this team should work fairly nicely. A downside to this squad is that we are kind of relying on like natural orbs to get us through, but Nami does increase the chance of landing on on tandem orbs, and you can actually use the super switch of Sop Sop to guarantee you some orbs on the rest of the team anyway. So as long as you position your characters right, you should actually, now that I'm looking at it, you should just easily have a full board orbs with Nami's super tandem. You're having the quick orbs from the super switch of Sop Sop, and then having the guaranteed Wano slot from Luffy. This team might do damage. I don't know if it'll beat Shanks. Shanks is what Shanks can output, because Shanks is just so good with his super tandem. But this is another option if you guys are missing something like Sabo and you have some of these really high-end characters as well. But that's going to wrap up the video anyway, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to go down there and belt the like button for me if you're new to the channel. If you haven't done so already, hit that big red subscribe button. Most importantly, though, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. Best of luck in Super Boss. I know it's going to be a sweaty one. I know that KIZUNA is going to go hard because of the World Cruise event. Best of luck to y'all. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Later!